What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to tonight's show. This is the Started Somewhere show. My name is Ross Alex, and I want to welcome everybody here, whether you're watching live or you're joining us on the replay. We have an incredible show with you guys tonight, for you guys tonight. We have the man himself, Stefan an incredible show. Somebody that I really look up to in my business, somebody who, has spent some phone calls, some late night phone calls with me, giving me some tips, giving me some tricks, and somebody who's just really setting the bar super, super high in the real estate space. So we're going to let some people hop on here with us live, and we are going to rock out. Stefan, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ross, how are you?
Good, brother, man. It's good to have you here. I'm glad we can make this happen, man. What's happening up in Canada?
Oh, it's nice weather. It's summertime. Nobody's working. I called my banker today. They're not working. Nobody's working, man. And just doing some deals and got a new book coming on Friday, getting a fall tour ready right now, and I think we just sold a flip today, so we're just doing business.
Wow, man, Stefan, you are just absolutely crushing it right now, bro, and I love it, man. I picked up your book, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, this one right here, Self-Made, and what an incredible book, by the way, man. Really enjoyed it. And in the book, you go back, you take us back into time, with how you got started and where you were. A lot of people nowadays, they talk about, the ups and how things are now, and they show the luxury lifestyle and the big checks, but we all get started somewhere, and just like everybody, you got started somewhere as well, man. So would you just take us back to when you 10 years ago or however long you've been in business now, before you got started, man?
Well, I always wanted to be, when I was 16, I wanted to be rich and famous, so I wanted to be a rock star. And of course, growing up with MTV, they don't have MTV anymore, but there used to be music videos, and rich people that I knew about growing up were sports stars, rock stars, that kind of thing. And I wanted to be rich and famous, so I said, I want to be a rock star, and I got in the music business, and I had a band, and we had some merchandise, and that was going to be the goal, get famous, be a rich and famous musician. And by the time I was about 22, I graduated from music school. I had a shitty band, and my band collapsed, and I said, good riddance, enough is enough with this. And I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I started going to real estate seminars, and started buying properties, and fast forward, it's almost 10 years later. That was back when I was 22. I'm 31 now, and here I am. I haven't had a job since I was 23. Been out of the rat race for a long time. Have enough rentals to not work, and I've been publishing a book a year. That's my goal: publishing books and helping people. And we've got a coaching company now, a flipping company. We flip real estate. We got a home staging company. I'm getting more into e-commerce, and life is good today because I planted some seeds a long time ago, and now I've got some trees and some apples and some peaches because I planted the seeds when I was 22. So that's what people got to do. If you want to do this, you got to plant some seeds, and it does take a while for those seeds to grow. But, I always say there's no job like no job.
I like that, man. And Stefan, you have so many accomplishments. You're an award-winning real estate entrepreneur. You're author of multiple books. 2014 winner of the Rich Dad Hall of Fame. I mean, all these things are in the business space are just absolutely incredible. But you say that you were in a rock band. I assume that your mind wasn't on real estate and becoming a real estate mogul and a business mogul. So did you ever think that you would be achieving all these things in the business space?
No. And I look at my life today, like I'm sitting in this condo right now in Winnipeg. I have a doorman. We have valet parking. There's a couple billionaires who live in this building. I'm on the river. I'm in the nicest spot in town. I would never dream I'd be living in this building or living here 10 years ago. And I thought, my mom said, maybe you should be an English teacher like me. And I have an English degree, so I could have been a teacher. My dad said, get a job at a bank. I never thought I would be doing all this stuff. And I've traveled around the world now. I take as much vacation as I want. I don't like vacation much because it's boring. But, all these things can be yours if you study and make the investments. I always say this about real estate. Nobody loves real estate, Ross, but we all love the benefits of real estate. The benefits are great, but the bricks and the sticks and the dirt, you're telling me you have a tenant. I hate tenants. I have many tenants. I don't like them. But I like the benefits of having tenants.
Hey, man, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And I think, I think we share the same the same mindset when it comes to that, because I tell people all the time, I don't love real estate either. I just love the life that it allows me to live. If I could have it my way, I wouldn't work, every single day, but I love the benefits and I love the grind. So, real estate's an amazing vehicle. I know that you've been, doing very, very well in it. But Stefan, take us back, man. You talk about in self-made. You're sitting on the couch. You got started. You're in this band, and you picked up books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What kind of things were going on in your mind at that time when you were, deciding whether or not you wanted to make the switch and move into the business world?
Well, I didn't really have a lot to think about, Ross, because I was screwed. I had an English degree, major in English, minor in music. That's a shitty degree. I have a shitty degree. I had a bad job. I didn't have a choice. People say, oh, how'd you get successful? Well, dude, I had to become successful. I was living at my mom's house. I was 22. No girls wanted to date me. I didn't own a car. I rode the bus. That sucks. That sucks, man. No little boy or little girl says, when I grow up, I want to ride the bus and live at mom's house still. Like that's not the dream. Right. And so I said, I'm not going to be poor. I refuse to be poor. And being a musician, a lot of musicians, they take a life of poverty. They just say, I'm going to live a life of poverty and make it about the art and all this stuff. And I said, well, that sucks. I don't want to be poor. And I refuse to be somebody who lives that kind of life. And I said, I'm going to be rich. And I started having rich habits. I started saving 70% of my income. I was living on pretty much nothing. I talk about my fun money was $20 a week. I go buy myself a bagel for $1. I'd eat the bagel, and I get like an onion bagel, so that had lots of flavor, But that was my budget, man. $20 a week, and all my money. I was making $1,000 a month. All my money was going into savings so that I could buy a property or get some real estate courses or something, because I was not going to be poor, man. I was not going to be poor for very long. I'm not all about that. I want to be rich. Okay.
I like it, man. So what would you say the first step, that aha moment, the first step that you took to making that transition into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think something that people have to do is, if you want to get into business, you have to start saving. And I started saving like crazy. I started saving 70% of my income. And I took all that money and I said, this money is for my venture. It's for my farm, my farm. I'm not buying a plot of land in the country and growing potatoes, but your mind is a farm, and you have to plant seeds in there, and you have to take courses, and you have to read books. So I started investing all my money into myself and saving all my money. And I think that's a step that so many people nowadays are missing. They don't save their money for themselves. They don't cut back. Instead, they have too much lifestyle, and they want to go on all the trips right away and have all the fun stuff, but they're not saving at the beginning to get into this. Like, it's very expensive to run these ventures. They talk about it being no money down or cheap, and that is true. Like, all the real estate I do is no money down, but the education to get to where I am is very expensive. I spent over $300,000 on my education, Ross, and that's not including university. That's outside of university.
Wow. So $300,000 in your personal education.
Mm-hmm.
You say invest in yourself, read courses, read books, start saving. There's somebody out there right now, Stefan, that wants to be massively successful, but they're not willing to do those things, and it's just not connecting. They may be scared to cough up the bucks, man. What would you tell that person?
Well, there's nothing in this life for free. Everything takes time, effort, energy, money. I got this wristband that says respect the grind. It takes 10 years and 10,000 hours to be a master, and there's no such thing as something for nothing. It all costs. It costs a lot of blood, sweat, tears, time, money, effort, energy, and there's no such thing as just magically winning the lottery. It doesn't work like that. You have to make I'm successful today, or have some success, because I've just invested more. That's all it is, Ross. Some people invest $3,000 in themselves. I invest 300 grand. Some people, even now I educate and sell courses and coaching and things like that. I invest more in my programs than other people, and they're better programs. In my properties, I invest more in my properties than other people. I invest more in my marketing than other people. That's all it is you just have to be the person who invests more time, more money, more effort. If you invest the most, you get the most.
Gotcha. Now, have you ever, with all that money, that 300K, have you ever made a bad investment into your education?
Oh yeah, last year I hired 3 different coaches. 2 of them sucked balls. They sucked so bad. And one of them was amazing. But the cost of, and I say this to people all the time, the cost of not doing it is more than the cost of doing it. And even if you make a bad hire, I've hired bad employees, and I've hired bad coaches, and I've taken shitty programs before. I've taken great programs. But the cost of not doing it and staying home is what makes you broke if you just stay home. Yesterday I was pricing out some marketing companies for a tour. I'm going to go on tour and do some speaking. And I think I have to spend something like $60,000 or $70,000 up front in marketing. And my dad's sitting there. My dad's broke as a joke. He's going bankrupt. He's a limo driver, no vision whatsoever. And he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't invest $70,000." I said, "Well, that's why you're a limo driver. That's it's $70,000. I have to go to the bank. I'm going to get a line of credit just to bankroll a tour, because I know, dude, it costs money. It costs a lot of freaking money to be on top." And if you got to borrow, steal, sell your stuff, whatever it takes. I don't like selling my real estate. There's real estate I own, I don't want to sell, and then there's other real estate I'm flipping. But whatever you got to do to get in, you got to do it, man. Make the investment, make the commitment, make it happen. Because what's the alternative? What else are you going to do?
Exactly, man. And dude, I couldn't agree more with you. I love that you're saying this right now, because I preach this on a daily basis to people that want to cut corners and think that they're going to blow up and take things to the next level on a massive scale. They're not willing to invest in themselves, whether it's time or money, and they think it's just going to happen. And that's just, it's not true. And anybody who has achieved any level of success will tell you it is, you have to pay to play. You really do in the business world, especially if you're an aspiring real estate entrepreneur, because there's so many people out here doing the same thing you're doing or you want to do. And if you want to be on top, you have to pay to play. You have to invest, man. So, Stefan, great points, man. That aha moment, you're taking it back. You're doing these things. You decide you want to be rich. You want to be a multi-millionaire. Was that the aha moment for you?
Rephrase the question. Rephrase the question for me, Ross.
So a lot of entrepreneurs can go back to a specific day or an event where they had this light bulb go off in their head, and all this inspiration and all these ideas came, and they started jotting the plan out and writing it down, and it all came to light. Did a similar situation happen for you like that? Or did you just go on and it just happened as you went?
Well, I don't know I think that there's lots of aha moments. But I have a thing called a why moment, and the why moment for me is, when I came home from school, I was 17, came home from music school, and I watched my parents get divorced. I mean, my mom told my dad, I want to divorce you. My dad wasn't making enough money. And I got to watch my dad on his knees begging my mom for a second chance, begging her to try again, and she laughed at him. And, I saw that. That wasn't a great thing to see. And I saw that and decided, well, I'm not going to let money stop me from having a family. I'm not going to let money stop me from winning in life. I mean, these people, they essentially broke up because they couldn't make money. They just knew how to work and earn money, but they didn't know how to create money. So when I saw that, I said, I got to learn to create money. And that's something that I've been obsessed with, is how to create money. How do you print money? How do you create it like the government creates it? And that's something that, I've got better at that. And today I can create money much easier than I could 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, I'll be printing even more money. That's a real skill.
I like that. Now, when you talk about creating money, could you give us some tips on somebody that wants to go out there and start doing that? Maybe 3 tips for somebody to go out and start creating money.
Well, creating money is value creation. So if you want to learn to create value, you have to learn how to sell. You have to go and be a salesman somewhere and learn how to create value. And so first thing is learning to create value and then selling the value. And that's the biggest skill I think a lot of people miss. I think a lot of people come in entrepreneurship, they have no savings, they have nothing saved up ready for the venture. They don't know how to sell, they never took a sales class, and they go out there and just get frickin' smashed. So if you want to learn to create money, you got to learn to sell, because there's only one way to make money, Ross, that's to sell. You're either selling your time at your job or you're selling something else. And I sell other things. I don't sell my time very much anymore. I sell other things. People buy books from me. They buy houses from me. They buy, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, we got a couple books. Yeah, people buy books. People buy houses from me. They buy coaching and consulting. I don't even coach people anymore. Most of the coaches, I have other coaches who coach for me. So we sell packages, but I don't do it. So you either are going to sell your time or you're going to sell something else. And if you're going to sell something else, you got to learn to create value and learn how to sell the value so that you're not involved. And that's when you're really printing money.
So where would you recommend somebody that's just starting out go to learn how to sell?
Well, in my book, Self-Made, I don't know if you read it, I was talking about how I went and learned to sell vacuums. And I didn't get to be a vacuum salesman because I went to the training and I told my mom, I was living with my mom at the time, I was a teenager, I told my mom, I'm going to sell vacuums. And she fought me so hard. Every day I came home from vacuum training and she'd fight with me for 8 hours. And I got so tired after 3 days of fighting her, I had to quit before I even got to be a vacuum salesman. But, you got to get a sales job, straight commission, and the shittier the job, the better. Like vacuum sales, insurance sales, you could be credit card sales at the mall. You could be doing energy contracts, pest control, whatever. Sell some shit on the street, man. Like, you got to go and start selling some stuff. That's where you really learn. Go on the street, start hustling, man. I mean, even the Wolf of Wall Street, he was selling steaks door to door and ice cream bars on the beach before he was selling stocks. Yep,
absolutely, man, absolutely. And I know you're really big on the work to learn game and strategy. Would you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, well, there's only 3 ways to get ahead, Ross. There's, you got the blood, sweat, and tears method, which is just go out and make mistakes. That's very long and very expensive, very hard path. Then the second one is work for free. Go work for somebody who has what you want and work for free. Very expensive on your time. And if you're an adult, probably have to make major life sacrifice to do that. Or the third one is pay somebody for advice and knowledge. And so I've done all 3 in my life. And if you can, work for free and work to learn and not to earn from somebody if you're young. And if you can afford to do that, I think it's a great thing to do. I I get idiots calling me every day though, wanting to work for me for free, and I don't really take many people on anymore because they waste my time. You know,
Yeah.
all
No,
these stupid people calling me, asking me to work for free. I actually had to kick a bunch of people out of my office because they were just wasting my office. You know.
Man, dude, I can definitely feel you on that one, man. And guys, for those of you that are just joining in live right now, we are live with Stefan Arnio, multi-millionaire, super successful real estate entrepreneur. We will be answering questions. Stefan has agreed to stick around for a bit and get to some questions. So if you have them, type them down in the comments, and we will get to them towards the end of the show. So, Stefan, man, can you tell us about your first deal, how much you made, and tell us, what was the deal like?
Oh man, my first real estate deal was kind of a shitty deal. It was some guys that I didn't know that well. Me and five other guys, so six of us teamed up, and we bought a little crappy rental property in Winnipeg, and the six of us jointly owned it. So I got the mortgage. I went to the bank, got a mortgage. I had a job at Frito-Lay putting chips on shelves at 3 a.m. And so I went to the bank and got a mortgage, and we all pooled $1,200 each. And we bought this little crappy rental house. And first 2 months, rent comes, make $500 cash flow. Then another month of rent, $500 cash flow. We're all happy, high-fiving. We're so smart. And then next thing you know, third month comes, no rent. And so I go check the front door, things swinging open. The tenant smashed it up as a couple of musicians. They came and they did drugs and they poured beer on the carpets and cigarettes and kicked all the doors in, and they smashed the house. And I called my partners and said, hey, do you guys want to put more time or money into this house? It's all smashed up. Everybody said, no, I don't want to put more time. I don't want to put more money. And it was so much work to try to get these guys to work together. And of course, I have the mortgage. I have all the liability. So I went and got some money from another investor, paid everybody their money back, and then I had to hold on to it for 5 years. So I held on to the property for 5 years, rented it out, and fixed it and sold it. And I think after it was all said and done, I think I netted like $20,000 at the end of the day, and made some cash flow along the way, $400, $500 a month cash flow. Of course, at some point the thing needs repairs and you got to pay it back. But, it was kind of a cool little first deal. And I got to learn about shitty tenants and good tenants. And I got to learn about rent and rental tenancies board and, people smashing up your suites and stuff. So I still have rentals, but I really don't like rentals. I try not to take on more than I have. It's just something. They are the key to wealth, but you got to get into the bigger buildings. Like, you don't just want to have one little crappy house. It's a waste of your time.
Right. So you got in this deal with 6 or 5 other guys. If you could go back in time, because from what I understood, you didn't lose money on the deal, but what would you do differently, knowing what you know now?
Oh, man, Winnipeg at the time, dude, oh, my God, the shit you could have bought at the time, like, I would have bought something way better, a multi-unit, something with like a nice parking lot attached to it. Like you could have bought anything in Winnipeg for a great price back then. I would have bought a better building, maybe a multi-unit, something with some parking attached to it. I just wouldn't have even bought that building. The building itself, the trouble with real estate, Ross, is ROE, return on effort. And Grant Cardone talks about, I like Grant's real estate philosophy. He says, you can go out on the street and beg and get an infinite return and get $20. That's an infinite return, but it's only $20 and you're out there in the frickin' heat asking for $20, with the buy and holds, you got to get some scale. You got to have 50 units minimum if you're even going to make it worth your time. Like I was looking at a building here. I had it tied up a little while ago. It was a warehouse, 90,000 square feet, and I could get it for $900,000, $10 a square foot. And I was going to take it and develop it into 75 loft-style apartment units downtown, and I'd have 75 rentals. It'd be an $8 million building. So that's worth my time, right? $8 million deal. If I do that, I can make a couple $1 million of equity. It's worth the time. exact same amount of time, I was looking at another deal a couple weeks ago. It's a shitty, gutted triplex. Beautiful building, 2,800 square feet. I can get it for $100 and something thousand, fix it up, refi it. I could be in it for no money. I could have like 100, 150,000 of equity, make a little teensy bit of cash flow. But the ROE, return on effort, for like $100,000 of equity and a little shitty amount of cash flow, I don't know if it's worth my effort, right? So you can make that return, like a good return, but now you own a crappy little asset.
Right.
I would rather own 75 units with in-house management that I own and control. Like I have 14 employees, Ross. I'd rather have a 15th employee in property management. That's easier for me than for me to dick around with a triplex.
Right. But so where you're at right now in your business and in your financial life, I understand that that's your mentality. But for somebody getting started right now, an $8 million deal, even with the ROE factored into the equation, may not be reachable or tangible for them at the moment. So do you feel that there is levels? Would you agree with that? That there's levels to the business world?
Yeah, for sure.
Level up? Yeah.
Here's what you do. This is what I preach to people. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Go out, flip 4 houses. Make 30 grand, 30 grand, 30 grand, 30 grand. You got 120 grand. Now go buy yourself a big building. Then do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take another 100 grand. Go buy yourself an apartment block. Like you can go, okay, here's another example. I could do 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Like I've got right now, we do about a deal a week in my office, a deal to 2 deals a week, and we either wholesale it or we flip it. So let's say I take 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. That 100 grand, dude, I could put that down on that warehouse. That was a $900,000 warehouse. I could get a VTB on the warehouse, 100 grand down, own that warehouse. $900,000 warehouse, I could rent that out, make 15,000 bucks cash flow a month. Or I can take the same 100 grand and I can go get an apartment block, 30 units, 100 grand down on a $2 million building with a VTB. So what would you rather do? You can get a 30 unit apartment block, which I don't really want, or I can get the warehouse, which I would like, or, you can take the 100 grand and make another business. I got a home staging company, Home staging company, I don't even do anything with it. It's passive income because I have a managing partner. I put a managing partner in place. So I just make money every month. It just makes me passive money as much as probably an apartment block would make.
Right.
So you get to understand, go to your 4 greenhouses, flip them, make the money, make 100 grand, and then go look at some business opportunities. Go look at you could buy a business, you could buy apartment block, you could buy a parking lot, you could buy a warehouse, you could buy something worth your time.
Mm-hmm. So just keep rolling it over, keep reinvesting. Now, I know that you're really big on private capital like I am. So would you say that somebody is better off investing their own capital from doing the 4 houses, 1 red hotel, or just going out, raising a bunch of money, leveraging, stacking up the profits, and
Yeah. OPM, baby. I don't use my own money on my deals. OPM. Use other people's money on the 4 houses, so you're in it for nothing. Like this is what I say to people. Okay, I have training 18 to 60,000. If someone wants to work with my company, it's 18 to 60 grand. We show people how to do this. Go spend your 20 grand learning how to do this, or 30 grand. It's usually about 30 grand to really learn to play the game. It costs about 30 grand. Sorry guys, that's just what it costs to learn how to play the fucking guitar. It's going to cost you 30 to 60,000 bucks to learn how to do it. So go spend your money learning how to do it, and then do greenhouse. Do 4 no money down flips. Make your 100 grand. Take your 100 grand. Go buy yourself something big. No partners on the big stuff. You own it. Forget the partners. Because what I've found, Ross, I've done lots of joint ventures. Partners are a pain in the ass. Major pain in the ass having partners and holding shit with partners. Huge pain in the ass. I think you're better off to partner and do all the flips, get the cash, then go own it. And you just own the business. Life is good.
I like it, man. I like it. So when it comes to partnerships in business, because that's what I wanted to talk about next, you rather go out solo and have your team rather than partner up. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, like I own all the shares in my companies, so I own the companies. And I have managing partners. I have people who manage and they get a nice big fat dividend. They don't own stock, but they do get big fat management dividends. Like my flipping, Ross, I don't do any flips anymore. My team does the flips. I actually don't do anything. So so that business, I don't do the business. It's almost like I've sold it, but I still own it. So I own it. Like my capital runs in the business, and my team and my office and my brand, and like I go out in the field and shoot a video, but I don't know what the heck's going on with those flips. Like we do a drive around once in a while, I'll come take a look, but I have a managing partner in place. Same with my staging company. I have a managing partner, and that guy makes a lot of money to manage those assets. And then I'm working on my other companies. Like I'm writing another book right now. I get to do what's interesting to me. I'm building $1 billion company. That's my goal right now. So I'm building $1 billion company over here, and these like littler companies, the 5 and the 6 figure companies, I got managing partners on, so I don't have to do them.
Dude, I can totally relate because I run my business the same exact way. Not at the scale that you are yet, but the same systems, right? And I'm really big on systems-oriented businesses. I think that it's necessary for every business to operate with systems and processes. And the goal here is to work on your business, not in your business. So I think that's, if I'm getting this right, that's kind of where you're at too, right? Just automation, macro manage everything that's going on, collect the checks, but not handle the day-to-day stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it's always easier said than done, Ross. I mean, like, I have screwed up every single way there is to screw up. I've hired wrong people. I've messed up. I've messed up the companies. I've messed up lots of stuff before. And I'd say I'm now at a point after operating in the information space for 5 years and real estate for I think 8 or 9 years, I can actually tell you how to actually run it properly. But I've broken it, man. I've messed it up. I've screwed it up. I've delegated and delegated wrong. I've given people keys to the kingdom when I shouldn't have. I've screwed it up every way possible. And then I've also had to fix it too. And that's something that, I think people when they get a business go, oh, I'm going to delegate and I'm just going to be a manager or I'm going to manage a manager. It's not that easy, man. It's not that easy. You can't just give it away like that, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers say, give it away, give it away, give it away now. You can't just give it away. There's a whole way to do it, and and it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, dude. So let's explore that area with some of the mistakes that you've made. What would you say one of your biggest mistakes that you've ever made in the past 10 years of you being an entrepreneur?
Oh, I don't even have to go back 10 years. I hired a guy last year, a COO, a guy to operate my business. Totally wrong guy. Ruined my culture. Probably cost me $500,000. Seriously, just totally. Last year, I was like, exactly what most entrepreneurs do. They're like, oh, I'm going to get a manager to manage everything. Total wrong guy, wrong culture, ruined it. Almost probably wrecked both my companies. Like could have just wrecked them both. You get the wrong guy in there. And I've had to fix them. And, it takes like 6 months to fix your company up after a mistake like that.
So what went wrong?
What I did? I brought in a friend of mine, a guy who was too close to me, and I was blind. I was just blinded by love. And I was not, I'm usually pretty hard with people, but this guy, I was just soft with this guy. And, it was, oh, it's coming. We're going to have great things happening. We're always just starting. Like it was always going to happen. It never happened. And next thing you know, whole companies turned upside down because, you put in some wrong management. And a lot of companies, like look at BlackBerry, dude. BlackBerry had wrong management. They're gone. You have wrong management. You got wrong management on your rental property or wrong management here, wrong management there. Your company's going to be toast so fast with the wrong managers.
So this was somebody that was close to you, and I imagine it was difficult to cut that tie.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Ross. I lost my best friend. I lost my friend. I lost a lot, dude. Just to, you bring somebody in like that, you think you got it, but people do all the time. They get married to the wrong person. Like, I've never been married, but if you get married to the wrong person, that's what that's like. Bringing in the wrong general manager, that can be very, very costly, very hard to recover from.
So what would you say to somebody that is going into business with one of their friends or their family members?
Oh, I say don't do it. Don't go in with your family. Like, my mother is one of my first investors, and I spoil her. She is such a spoiled investor. She gets unbelievable returns from me, and she complains. She complains it's not enough. Well, she gets a return that's better than Warren Buffett's return, and she's still complaining.
Wow.
So I think friends and family, I think it's a real, I don't see it working very well. If you're married and you have a wife, well, you're kind of in it. You have to probably be in business with your wife, but I think family and friends and money is not usually a very good mix, because if you can't fire them, why would you hire them? And same with, tenants. If you can't evict them, like, I would never rent to my dad because I can't evict my dad.
I absolutely agree, man. And I think that there's a fine line, and a lot of people cross it without knowing the possible risks of doing business with your friends or your family. And a lot of gurus nowadays, they say the first thing to do when you're raising OPM is go out to your friends and family. And I tell my students, well, what happens if you lose it? What happens when shit goes wrong? You can get a lot of heat by doing business with your friends and your family. So,
well, you have to at the beginning. I think when you're raising money, friends and family is where a lot of people start. But I always say to my guys, get off that as fast as you can. Like, as soon as you get that thing rolling, like, get off of that money as quick as possible.
Yeah, and I gotta disagree there, man, because not saying that it won't work, because I'm of course it does, but what I like to tell people and what I do is, and I know you're really big on this, when you build the brand and you get the deal, the money's gonna follow the deal every time. And if you have the brand behind it, it's raising private money is gonna come simply.
Well, money is super easy to get. It's, especially for real estate, super, super easy to get money. And you're right. The deal, you might have read that in my book here, Ross. I think you're reading my book. Yeah,
I'm doing my homework, man.
The money follows the deal. If you have a good deal, there's money for it. If it's a shitty deal, nobody wants it.
Yeah, absolutely. My next question for you, Bud, is it necessary to fail in order to succeed?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, man. It's a cycle. Like, you're winning and then you're not. And the sun goes up and then the sun goes down. And the elevator goes up and then the elevator goes down. You have to, there's no elevator that goes only up. It does go down. And you have to get good at going down and getting messed up sometimes. And I remember when I was starting out flipping houses, I flipped like 13 or 14 houses in a row, made money every single time. And this old man said to me, "Have you ever lost money?" I said, "No." He said, "You're going to lose money." And I was like, "Whatever, old man. Of course, I have lost money now." So at some point, you're going to lose money. At some point, you're going to get punched in the face. Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until he gets punched in the face. And you're going to get punched in the face, especially if you step into the ring. You're totally going to get punched in the face. So just get ready for it. If it doesn't happen right away, Bill Gates says success is a bad teacher. You're going to get punched in the face at some point.
You got to get punched in the face. I think that's the name of a new book I might write. You got to get punched in the face.
You got to get punched in the face. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So really, really awesome stuff, man. Dropping tons of value. And again, guys, for those of you that are listening live or on the replay, make sure interact below, drop some comments in, drop some questions in, because you're gonna. Stefan comes at a price. It's not cheap to get this information, so use it while you can. Stefan, let's talk about 0 to $1 million. 0 to $1 million. What does it take to go from 0 to $1 million bucks?
Oh, it takes tons of energy and tons of time and effort and money. I think 0 to $1 million is the hardest thing. You know, I remember when I was taking real estate really serious, I was living at my mom's house and I had a car, a computer, a closet with a couple cheap suits in it, and a bed, and that was it. Like it was just go time. We're working every day, 18, 20 hours a day, every day. And we're hustling, and I was blogging, and I was raising money and managing a bunch of crews and flipping houses. And it's all in, man. If you want to go 0 to $1 million, that's all in all the time. And my goal is I want to build $1 billion company right now. That's what I'm building. And it's pretty much just as all in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, I agree. You got to go all in. And 0 to $1 million, maybe super, difficult and time intensive and all these things, but $1 million to $1 billion, $1 million to $1 billion. Most guys and ladies cannot figure out how to cross the $1 billion mark. So what does $1 billion company look like to you?
Well, the difference is this, and I wrote an article a long time ago. I don't know if you remember this article, but if you want to be a millionaire, you got to be the local best. So you're the best at making pies, or the best ice cream shop, or the best at cutting hair, or the best house flipper, whatever, local best. If you want 10 million, you better be best in the world. If you want 100 million, you got to change an industry. If you want $1 billion, you got to change the world. So all it is it's a geometric difference. You can't linear your way to $1 billion. There's no linear way. It has to be a geometric change. There has to be a transformational, different change happening. Like, you look at a hotel versus Airbnb. No matter how good you are at hotels, Hilton Hotels couldn't have come up with Airbnb. Airbnb is $1 billion idea. Hilton Hotels is, another $1 billion idea, but it took 100 years to build Hilton Hotels versus Airbnb got built really fast because it was a geometrically different idea. So if you want to do something in the billionaire space, if you look at a guy like Dr. Dre, well, Dr. Dre is the first billionaire rapper because he wasn't even doing music to get to the billion. He came up with the Beats headphones. If you look at 50 Cent with him, he made most of his money on vitamin water. So like whatever you're doing to get to the million is not going to be the $10 million game, is not going to be the $100 million game, is not going to be the $1 billion game. Those are all different games, and they're geometrically different games. Like flipping houses, Ross, that's a six-figure game. Guys who are flipping houses, that's six figures. You're going to make 100, 200, 300, 400, maybe $800,000. I don't know guys making much more than $800,000 flipping houses. If you want to go geometric to the next thing, it probably isn't flipping houses anymore. It's probably something different. And then that game after that is going to be something different as well. Right? It looks nothing like the last thing.
It's the evolution of a real estate entrepreneur, right? The multiple tiers, whether it's commercial or industrial or hotels. I agree with you 100%, man. I don't know personally any 10, 20, $30 million house flippers. Just personally. Maybe there's a few of them out there.
Probably isn't because, to get to the next level, they probably took their capital, invested into something else, and it grew. Yeah. I was reading about your boy there in Houston. What's his name?
The billionaire guy.
Nate. Nate Paul. I was reading about Nate Paul. He's 30 and he's a billionaire in real estate, which I couldn't believe because nobody does it that fast. But Nate Paul, what he was doing is he was buying not apartment blocks. He was buying storage facilities. He was buying office buildings and retail malls, stuff people didn't want, foreclosed, and he'd go in with pension funds and buy it for nothing. at the time when money's the cheapest in history and during the biggest real estate crash in American history. So the guy had a real recipe, and he's been doing that recipe for a long time. And he's just done like 120 transactions that are all big with some pension money, like good for him. But you don't read about that every day. Like you don't read about guys doing that because that's so geometrically different. Like, you know, he didn't flip houses. The guy flipped one apartment block, made $500,000 on a wholesale fee, and then he went big, you know?
Beast mode, man. Oh, dude, you're right, man. That's I read that article. For those of you that haven't read the article or don't know what we're talking about, look up. You said Nate Paul, right?
Nate Paul, that's his name. He was in Forbes.
Yeah, he was in Forbes. Stefan, man, one thing that I know you're really, really big on is, running an organization, having the empire. And I think that comes really difficult to some people when it comes to hiring and managing a team and being a leader and making sure that people aren't dropping out like flies and they're helping you build the vision and carry out the plan. What are some tips, man, that you have for us, on team building and hiring and things like that?
Well, Ross, it's really hard because, it's kind of like I can go out there and flip houses. Like Stefan knows how to do it. But then to get the organization to do it is another thing. So for me to do it is one thing, but then to have the patience, the time, the effort, the energy to grow and train a group of people to do it without you is a whole nother thing. And I think a lot of people, when they get in this business, and I always tease you, I say you have to get an assistant. I have 14 freaking people in my office, man. That's a lot of freaking people. 14. And there's managers, and there's procedures, and there's meeting schedules, and there's protocols, and we're signing checks twice a month only. If someone doesn't get his check, screw you, you got to wait. Like there's so many things going on in there. My realtor says you need a good realtor. He's watching. Yes, you do need a good realtor. But to get somebody else to do the job that you used to do, very, very tough. Very tough. And I've screwed it up many times. I've collapsed the organization. I've lost people that were key people, and then you have to go back in time and you have to spend the whole year training somebody else. And I think the biggest thing is culture. And it's kind of like when you have two people that come together, Napoleon Hill talks about there's a third mind, the mastermind is created. So there's, Stefan and Ross Alex, and there's a third mind right now, the Ross Alex Stefan brain. And when you build a company, there's a mastermind, there's a culture, there's a group brain that gets built. And you have to have a great culture. You have to build a culture so that the Indians, the chiefs and the Indians are self-managing because they have a culture. There's a culture, there's a team, there's a vibrancy, there's an esprit de corps, there's a skip in their step, and they believe in the tribe. And that's different than you just going out and flipping houses, right? Because you're one person. But when you have to manage that tribal brain and that hive mind and the group, that's a totally different game. And it's like, I think people get married. Now, I'm not married, but people get married, and I think they forget about the culture of the marriage, right? When you get married or you're in a relationship with somebody, there's a culture. There's a culture of you and your woman or your boyfriend or whatever you have. And that culture is another entity. And same with the business. The business has its own culture, and that's another entity. And I think one of the things I did in my company is I screwed up the culture. I put the wrong guy in charge and made him a leader, and the culture got poisonous, and the whole thing almost fell down because that culture was not... It was not healthy. It became sick.
Great stuff, man. Yeah, and you definitely, I can just tell from your products and, the things that you're doing and the people that support you that you definitely work really hard on building the culture. And it's, it's really awesome to see, man. Stefan, before we run out of time, man, I got a few more questions for you, but I joined you on a webinar that you did a couple of weeks ago, and I've been running around town telling people about this thing. I was like, you got to watch Stefan's new webinar. There's something really, really big happening soon. From a speculative standpoint, would you talk about that for a little bit?
Oh, about the real estate crash that's coming.
About the crash, man. To see where a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but I know you do. So let's get into it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did a webinar a while ago how the biggest crash in history is coming. And all that it is, I've studied lots of different people. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, talks about the crash coming. You can talk to Peter Schiff. He's always talking about a crash, Peter Schiff. You can look at, any number of sources. We are at the time in history right now, Ross, where there is going to be a massive, massive crash and a massive recession. And all that it is this is the crash that should have happened, but Obama and his boys and George Bush and his boys and Bill Clinton, everybody's been deferring this crash. They keep pushing it off. They keep pushing it off, pushing it off. And I think the wheels are going to fall off the bus. And, I don't have time to talk about it because my webinar is a 2-hour-long webinar. I talk about it. I show you the charts.
Is that replay up for people to go watch?
I don't have a replay on it. I think I might make it a product. I might sell it because
it was awesome.
It's that good. Yeah.
It was.
And it's serious stuff though. Like there is going to be a major systemic change. Like we could see the end of the American currency. Like the US dollar might go bye-bye. And if you look at what's going on in Venezuela right now, if you look at, the debt, like poor Donald Trump, he has to try to fix this mess. I don't think he can do it. I don't think anybody can do it. If someone could do it, Trump can do it, but he can't. So you look at this and the great news is this, guys like me and you who know how to raise money, when things go on sale, we're going to get really, really rich. And that's something that I've been not so worried about buying assets. I actually have been selling a bunch of assets and getting rid of as much real estate as possible. I only have a couple key pieces because I'm ready for it to go on sale, and then we'll go buy. I don't want to buy right now.
Yeah.
There's some people out there, like everybody I know who's really smart with apartment blocks is selling right now or not buying. Everybody I know, even in Winnipeg, we have a company called Artis REIT, a huge REIT, and they own one of the big skyscrapers downtown. They're not buying anything. All the big boys aren't buying. They're all selling. Now is time to sell. So people are selling, and I think that we're going to have a massive financial event happen. Nobody knows what it's going to be, but something's going to happen. The cat's going to jump out of the bag, and if you're not ready to buy, we're going to have some problems.
Right. So now is the time, if you haven't already, to get proper training and education so that when it does happen, if it happens, you're ready and you know how to be strategic and go out and buy real estate for pennies on the dollar and create wealth. Is that right, Stefan?
Yeah. Well, I missed 2008, man. I got started in 2008. I missed it. I missed the whole thing because I was too young and too dumb and I couldn't learn fast enough.
Yeah.
And now, like, it's 2017. We're probably going to see some big stuff happen. We're going to have some really, really big crashes happen. And, you got to get ready and you got to be educated. Like I said, it does cost like 30 grand to learn how to do this for real, like 30 to 60,000. I train people all the time, and I wish that those prices were lower. I wish that you could train people for $2 or $2,000. It just isn't the case. You just can't do it. You can't give a guy a university level education for less than that. It's not government subsidized, nobody is subsidizing it. It actually costs a lot of money to learn how to actually do this.
Right.
So if somebody's out there and they want to get involved, they want to get on board, I say go and start learning about this stuff because we're never going to see this kind of sale again. It's coming, man. And when that sale comes, get your checkbook ready. Get
it ready, dude. I'll be ready, Stefan. I know you will be too. One of my last questions here. for you, Stefan, is they say that success leaves clues. I really agree with that, and I think that it's important to follow those who have achieved the results that you want, because there will be a paper trail that you can follow. And a lot of multimillionaires, billionaires, they all have these certain characteristics, right? And for some reason, people don't want to believe it, but you look at the majority of wealthy people, they all have certain routines and certain, mentalities, and there's a lot of patterns there. And I know you are a very routine person. You have a lot of things that you do in your life that aid to your success and the results that you get. For one, I know you just did a water fast here in Costa Rica. I'm sure you wake up at the break of dawn, certain things. So how important is having a routine in your life?
Well, I think that everything goes in cycles. And I actually just did a fast 2 weeks ago, another water fast, 7-day water fast. I think everything goes in cycles. And, if you're talking about time management, rock stars, the people who are really crushing it, are either going to bed at 5 a.m. or getting up at 5 a.m. So I'm actually making a journal right now, a high performance journal. And it's for people to do their time management and all that stuff. And that's something I talk about in the journal is, you better be getting up at 5 a.m. or going to bed at 5 a.m. Right now, I'm living the going to bed at 5 a.m. lifestyle. I'm a very nocturnal person. I'm an artist. I'm creative. I like the middle of the night. But you're either getting up at 5 a.m. or going to bed at 5 a.m. You got an option. Like Gary V, he's up till 5 a.m. That guy, he's going to bed at 5 a.m. Other guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Grant Cardone gets up at 5 a.m. Whichever way it is, there's that 5 a.m. line, and you're either going to sleep then or you're getting up.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I am the same exact way. So I tell everybody, I don't wake up at 4 a.m. I don't, nor do I want to, but I'm usually up grinding. I'm still awake at 4 a.m. So for what you're saying, it's okay that I'm not waking up 5 o'clock a.m. Sometimes I go to bed at 5 a.m.
Well, it's 5 a.m. somewhere in the world, I guess. At the end of the day, though, Ross, like what you need is that couple hours of quiet time. And so if you're going to get it between 2 in the morning and 5 in the morning, that's one place for quiet time. Or you get it from like 5 till 8 in the morning, which is another quiet time. I've had both routines before, and sometimes I go on the 5 a.m. get up routine, which is a nice routine. Trouble with me, though, is I travel quite a bit, and it screws up my routine. And the other thing is I'm just not a morning person. I'm a vampire. I like night. And at night, I just find that I'm more creative. And a lot of the things I make money on now are creative endeavors. So like right now, I'm writing my next book, Respect the Grind. It's going to be a fiction. It's about two brothers. One brother respects the grind. The other one doesn't. You see how their lives play out. So, there's going to be more books, more programs, all that stuff. So I like to create at night, but other people, they like to get up in the morning. Whatever, it's up to you.
No, I can't wait for the book, man. Stefan, if you were to start all over again, and from day one, when you first got started, what's one thing that you would do differently?
Drop out of school when I was 16, learn to sell vacuums. I go sell vacuums when I'm 16. I think school's the biggest waste of time. Oh, these were nice, man. These were, what were they called?
The OREC Challenge.
Oh, dude, these were $3,000 vacuums. What were they called? You see these things, dude, they work for like 50 years. What was the name of it? It was, it'll come to me. Oh, the TriStar. It was a TriStar vacuum. These freaking things, man, they were designed in World War II jet engine factories. So it's a freaking jet engine inside of a vacuum, and nobody sells them because they're 60. They last for your whole life. These things. Most vacuums break down because they're fundamentally flawed machines. But the point is, I would drop out at 16 and I would start selling vacuums. That's what I would do. And one day I'm going to have kids. They're getting homeschooled. I'm not sending them to the public school. Public school system is the worst education in the world. It's shitty. America really, really sucks. Your education's horrible. Canada's education is also shitty. but it's much better than America's education. America's education is like the bottom of the barrel. Horrible education.
I don't have kids, so I can't relate in that sense just yet. But no, I like that, man. So you would drop out at 16. You'd go sell vacuums if you could go back in time. And Stefan, I ask every guest that comes on this show this same question, and I'd like you to just give it a little bit of thought because how old are you now? 30 years old?
31.
31 years old. In 31 years of your life, Stefan, what is the greatest advice that you have ever received?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I think the biggest thing that's important for people is we overestimate what we're going to do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And I think that if we just understood the power of compounding and the power of leverage, we can really, really get somewhere, like just the small things, man. Like I blogged every day for 120 days when I started my career. My career exploded. And guess what? I stopped blogging. I think, fuck, if I went back in time 5 years and blogged every day for 5 years straight, I'd be the biggest blogger in the world. And I've started blogging again. But just like little compound things like that, little compound things. If you just took a little bit of money and saved it, it compounds. I've never been a guy who just saves money. I just start businesses now. I just take money and I start another business. I don't invest in stocks. I don't invest in those things because I always think that I can beat the market with my own businesses and my own inventions. But just the little things compounding, like the littlest things. And I think we always forget about, it's going to take so long, or I don't think I can make it in time. But we forget the time passes anyways, Ross. The time's going to pass. And if you just got started and if you just had a little bit and just put a little bit of effort in, and that little bit of effort adds up because compounding. It's amazing. I wrote this book in 2013. And this book, I think I probably sold, I don't know, maybe 10,000 copies of it now. So 10,000 people out there are reading this book. And that's just Stefans selling books out of his car and over the internet. Well, this little invention, I took a $3,000 course to learn how to write a book. And then I spent, I think, another $2,000 publishing it. So that little thing at age, what was I, 25? At age 25, that compounds over the next 75 years. That little book, that little invention is going to keep going, keep selling. And then the opportunities that come because you wrote a book, right? Now those compound. This book is still selling every day. Every day we're probably selling at least 10 of these every day. Every day somebody's buying that. And that's just a little crappy compounded thing. Now what happens when I have, Ross, imagine in 17 years when I have 20 of these published. The compound effect of all those are just the little sales, but then there's all the other things. There's the audience. You have an audience of people, and then that compounds. And so I think we don't think about compounding enough.
Right.
Compounding is so powerful, and this builds on this, and builds on this, and builds on this, and builds on this. And we don't think about compounding enough.
That is some fire advice, guys. Stefan, man, what a bomb. What a bomb. I know people in the chat are loving it right now, and they want more, Stefan. I wish we had more time. We're actually out, but they want more. We've been talking about these books the whole time. Stefan, people are probably going to blow up your inbox, man. Where can they reach you? What's the best way to get in contact with Stefan Aarnio?
They can go to StefanAarnio.com, STEFANAAR, 2 A's, AARNIO. You can type that in, maybe, Ross, and they can see where to go.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, that's where you go, and you can get these books online there. And you can get on Amazon or whatever, but sometimes I think if you go on my website, I think you can get this book for $3. We have a special. It's on special. You can get it. But you got to go to my website and get the special. You got to look around for it. I don't think it's totally obvious, but it's there.
So that's StefanArnio.com. And you also have a pretty active Facebook and Instagram account, which is your name, Stefan Arnio, guys. So go follow him, go add him up, drop him a line. And Stefan, you'll be here in the comment section. If there's any questions after, I'll tag you in. And you've agreed that you'll stop by. I know you got a lot going on, but if somebody drops a question, man, you'll be around, right?
Yeah, whatever you need. I mean, I'm on Facebook all day. It's my focus group. I'm always checking things and trying things out, you know?
Well, Stefan, dude, it was an absolute pleasure, man. What a great interview. You dropped so much bombs. In fact, I have notes all over the place, and I'm sure that everybody that tuned in has a lot of notes as well. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Ross. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And guys, just to let you know, we will be doing another episode of this show next week. This is the Started Somewhere show where we dive deep into an entrepreneur's come up, how they got started, the grind, the struggles, the successes. So if you have anybody that you'd like to have for me to interview on this show, feel free to drop their name, tag them in the comments. It was a pleasure for you to join. It was a pleasure to do this for you guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.